Today's video is sponsored by Native. The last few weeks we have...
Are you screaming?
That's how you talk on YouTube.
You scared the shit out of me.
Good. So the last few weeks we've had quite a few overkill, outrageous, or just out there recipes. So I figured we'd get back to basics this week and I would give you an Instagram poll, because you haven't had one of those in a while. Out of the 4 options, you guys selected Babish's Tres Leches cake. I have never made one of these before. Going through this recipe, it doesn't look all that difficult, but there's definitely a couple extra steps that I've never done to make a normal sponge cake. With all that being said, let's get right into this one. By the end of today, we're hopefully gonna have 4 main components that'll come together and create this masterpiece. We've got the cake, the whipped cream, the dulce de leche, and the 3 milk soak. But before I can start on any one of those, I wanna give a huge shout out to my friends over at Native. If you aren't familiar, Native Deodorant is a all-natural, aluminum-free, paraben-free alternative to traditional antiperspirants and deodorants. Because my skin can get pretty sensitive sometimes, I recently started on my Native journey with some charcoal, citrus and herbal musk, and eucalyptus and mint deodorants. Now, I don't think you guys need a live demo on how to apply deodorant. I'm sure you got that covered yourselves. If you follow my Instagram, you might know that I am constantly hiking and exercising, and these are great because they're not sticky, they dry quickly, and they are fantastic for when you're on the go. Personally, I've been loving the charcoal one, and best of all, they are vegan and cruelty-free, which I think we can all get on board with. Now, 3 deodorants like the ones I just showed you would normally cost $36, but if you click the link in the top line of the description and use code DAVIDSEYMOUR, you would get the 3 for $24, meaning you'd get 33% off. And again, huge shout out to Native for sponsoring today's video. If you would like to bless your family and friends by making them this Tres Leches cake, grab yourself some flour and vegetable oil, heavy whipping cream and whole milk, sugar, kosher salt, baking soda, evaporated milk, baking powder, sweetened condensed milk, vanilla extract, a ton of eggs, and some strawberries. Now, I'd like to think that I stay pretty honest with you guys. I'm pretty transparent on the channel. So I will say that when I included this recipe in the poll, I hadn't even watched it fully yet. Mainly because I didn't think it would win, frankly, but also because I figured how hard can a cake and some frosting possibly be. I'm not saying this is incredibly difficult, but it's definitely more steps than I would have imagined. But I began by tossing together my dry ingredients, setting those aside, separating 10 eggs, also while impressing myself that I didn't break any yolks. I whipped my 10 egg whites along with a cup of sugar until I got some nice stiff peaks. Just slowly stream in that sugar, be as patient as possible. I was happy to see that the rest of the cake batter will take form in this last bowl, starting with the egg yolks and another full cup of sugar. Adding to that your milk and vanilla extract, and then, of course, our dry ingredients as well. The most important thing to note here is to try to do this entire process pretty quick, because once you have egg whites whipped, you don't want them sitting around for that long. You'll get some weird liquid on the bottom if you do. So just work diligently throughout this entire thing, and then finish it off by folding in our egg white meringue. Hold back all your comments about how I don't know how to fold egg white batters. I don't want to see them. Please just refrain. Let's keep going. In a greased and parchment paper lined cake tin, I threw down some of my batter. I figured that most of the rise was going to come from the egg whites in this, so I filled it up pretty well, I'd say about 3/4 of the way up. And that was absolutely a mistake because this thing kinda exploded. I guess I forgot the fact that I had 3 whole teaspoons of baking powder in this, but I'll set it to the side, maybe it'll deflate or something. While that was cooling, I got started on my dulce de leche. Please, oh god, I can't. Apparently I can't fold in egg whites or speak any non-English words without making you all cringe. My apologies, I'm trying. This candy of milk is gonna come together on our stove, first bringing it to a boil and then simmering it away for over an hour and a half until you get a really nice, deep, dark amber color. That's gonna be a result of the milk fats caramelizing, all of our sugar cooking down very slowly. This should be really delicious. Just make sure to run that through a sieve to strain out any impurities, and then let it completely cool at room temperature for at least another hour. Now that my cake was pretty much completely cooled, I popped it out of the cake tin, removed the parchment paper, and then, against every single fiber in my being, poked a million holes in this. We're gonna flip this over so the top will eventually be the bottom, and you kind of need the holes so that the milk soak can completely permeate our cake. And speaking of the milk soak, the Leches part of this whole thing, I combined a 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, and then about 4 ounces of our whole milk. Now this mixture would be good enough for 2 cakes. Since I only have one, I'm obviously gonna use half of it. And I very slowly started to stream it completely over my cake, trying to get every single square inch of this. I kind of feel like whoever invented this was just sick of having dry cakes from everybody, so he passive-aggressively invented this recipe as to never have a dry cake again. You do have to let the cake completely set up in the fridge for at least 6 hours, preferably overnight. So I let it do its thing while I prepped the very last part of this, which is our whipped cream. 8 ounces of heavy whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla will come together to make this delicious homemade whipped cream. If you've never done this before, it is 100 times better than any of that Cool Whip or Ready Whip crap, so I highly recommend you do. I sliced up a bunch of my strawberries for my finishing garnish. I transferred my cooled dolce into a little squeeze bottle as well. And finally, all of our hard work can come to fruition. I popped the cake out of the tin, cutting off some of the excess just to make sure it'll sit on my final cake board pretty evenly. I used every single last drop of that whipped cream. If you have 2 cakes, I highly recommend you double that recipe. And then finish this beauty with some of our dulce de leche and my strawberry slices. I feel like over time, my dessert decorating skills have improved slightly, maybe from putrid to somewhat passable. So I cut myself a slice, and it is time to dig in. As I'm sitting here looking at this, I realized I probably should have put this up against Rie's strawberry shortcake a few weeks ago, because on looks and ingredients, they're pretty close. Oh my gosh. This just might be one of the best streaks of recipes I've ever done on this channel. The cake is obviously crazy moist. If you hate dry cakes, this is the one for you. It's got a really nice balance of sweetness when paired with the homemade whipped cream, and this dolce is just, This is just an incredible dessert, and I'm absolutely gonna finish this, probably 2 more slices, and my summer diet will fly out the window. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave me a big old like. Special shout out to Native once again. Thank you guys so much for making this video possible. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you don't already. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you right back here next time. Peace.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision. We could make it out to